Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today I'll introduce you to the latest addition to our car fleet. This is Phil. I'll also talk to you about a manual transmission swap project. This is beyond it does have good tread and good ventilation. So Phil is a 1997 Corolla. And why call it Phil? Well, Phil was the name of the previous owner, so that made sense. I'll talk to you about all the quirks and features of this car, but first, a bit of background. So I bought Phil for the gearbox. I still want to do a manual swap for my live-in. Now the two cars are two different platforms. Phil is the AE111 platform, and the live-in is the 111 platform. We might have a few problems with this swap. I'm a bit of an amateur when it comes to this. I've never done this sort of thing before, so we'll see how that goes. We do have the same engines. We have the 4A FE engine, and who knows, we might swap that with a 4A GE one day. And we have the C52 gearbox, which is the same one we had in Big Red. And a quick update on Big Red. It has now sold for $2,400. I had 5 people who were interested, and I sold it to the first lady who looked at it. It was sad to see Big Red go, but I wasn't allowed another car until I sold it. Alright, back to Phil, and how did this happen? Well, Phil was driving along and someone pulled out in front, and this was the end result. Thankfully, there were no serious injuries. The impact damaged the bumper, grille and lights. It also damaged the bonnet or hood and fender guard. The radiator is also bent, but surprisingly is still holding coolant, or in this case, chlorinated water. This car needs 6 monthly safety inspections to be on the road, but this car hadn't had one for 11 months and then the crash happened, so you can safely assume the car wasn't insured at the time. Phil had the car advertised for $600. I offered $500. He came back with $550 and I agreed to this, but I had to organize transport first. Phil offered to tow the car to my house, which was very nice, so I paid the $600 he was originally asking for. And so here we are. The gearbox wasn't damaged at all in the crash. The clutch is in great condition. It was replaced in 2014 and the shifting is smooth. The interior is in good condition. The seats are still good, but they're very dirty. It smells like cigarettes in here. The ashtray is full. The car has been well maintained in the past, but looking under the bonnet, you can see signs of neglect. Looking at the air filter, this is filthy. The car was hard to start up in cold weather, and this is why. I ended up adding about 1 litre or a quart of oil to top it up. The oil is black, probably hasn't been changed for a couple of years. Now let's have a look at the junk in the trunk. We've got some jacking tools, but no jack. We have a spare tyre. Oh no, this is beyond... it does have good tread and good ventilation. I think I've seen enough. Let's move on. Now I've done compression tests on the live-in and Big Red in the past, but how does this engine compare, and is it worth keeping this engine for spare parts? There's a bit of oil on the thread, which is a common problem with these engines, but this spark plug looks pretty good otherwise. The first cylinder reading is 195 psi. The second cylinder is 190 psi. The third cylinder is 195 psi. The fourth cylinder is 195 psi. So this is pretty amazing. This engine's had a bit of punishment, but the 4A FE is a bulletproof engine. We'll definitely keep this engine for parts. There was one thing I wanted to fix. This engine idles pretty high when fully warmed up. It should ideally idle around 750 RPM. This is usually caused by a stuck idle control valve. To get to the valve, we first need to remove the intake hose. This is the throttle body. When you press down on the accelerator, the plate opens up to let more air in. When in idle, the plate is shut and the air goes through the hole below, and the volume of air is controlled by a valve. We need to remove the throttle body. Get the coolant hoses off. So the air goes through that hole, goes around and comes out through here and into the engine. This valve is meant to turn, but it's stuck. We need to remove the carbon buildup with this MAF cleaner. And there you go, the valve now turns. I'll put this back and start the engine. And we're idling around 800 RPM, which is almost perfect. And that's all I wanted to do. We'll start removing the transmission in the next video. This is the end of the intro and the first video in our transmission swap series. Don't forget to subscribe for future videos and future projects on this channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.